Hello, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. Let me tell you something. This is a hell of an episode, and I'm not just saying that because, boy.
Reaction. Like and subscribe and enjoy. Coaching hires, boobs, who knows what shows up on this show.
Criminals. Absolute criminals.
Thanks, YouTube. Are you on one today?
No.
She is.
I didn't think so.
I'm gonna make my announcement during the show.
Yeah, don't do it now. You got to tease it. It is a big announcement.
I have an announcement.
And not only is it an announcement, it's an announcement
of
that I think a lot of people listening to this will be very appreciative of.
Yeah.
And jealous of.
I know I was appreciative of it.
And jealous, maybe.
It's a big day for Ryan
I know
Walker.
it's a college football podcast.
Yeah.
But you are wearing a lovely USA hoodie.
Go America.
Oh, we're recording a little bit later because we just watched USA advance.
Right.
The United States men's national team advance.
Excruciating. Agonizing.
We
had a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter, and the other team had all their timeouts, so we didn't even try to pass the ball at all. We ran prevent defense the entire second half.
I was about to say, it's definitely prevent defense, and the entire offense and defense gassed.
Yeah.
Gassed.
They would like to die.
The strength and conditioning coach was getting questioned the whole time in our head. Like, what are they doing in the weight room? Why are they so out of shape? But they advanced, and I have to say, I know that it's an unpopular thing to jump on bandwagons of different sports. People get mad. Being on the United States men's national team bandwagon in the World Cup is so fun.
It is fun because everybody's on the same team for once. I gave Big T a high five in the hall.
That's crazy.
Right. I've never given Big T a high five in my life.
It is odd because everybody is so nice to each other. So at the end of that game, everyone was high-fiving, everyone was shaking hands, except for like troops and expressions. But we already know that about them. Right. Everybody else, the entire content floor is all sitting around watching it, and it's just like, wait, no one's yelling at each other?
I like America.
I like America.
Does watching football to take away from soccer? I feel it's spoiled. Like football, we're used to like action stop. Like you know what's coming.
Well, the thing about the soccer is when
cross country
when goals get close, it feels like the end of the world. So there's that. I don't want to spend any time talking about the merits of soccer because if the U.S. wasn't playing, none of us would have watched.
Yeah,
but
not a single person in this.
But it's a hell of a thing to watch on a Tuesday.
It's also fun, I think, and this is another unpopular opinion. People who've played soccer hate it, but I think fans of, like, sports fans who watch it, penalty kicks are fucking great.
Well, I have many rule changes I'd like to institute in soccer. First of all, you have to get rid of the offsides rule. I think you should be offsides at all times. Secondly, I think they should double the size of the goals. Third, I think there should be one guy on either team that has a stick.
They can just beat people?
The ball, the people, whatever. He's got a stick. It's his stick.
But then when people have to wear like, pads and helmets?
That's on them. Just stay away from stick guy.
The stick guy.
Stay away from stick guy.
He's just a rogue guy. He can go wherever he wants.
You can put him on offense. You can put him on defense. How you use stick guy is up to you.
The World Cup is really fun, regardless of So obviously, if you're a soccer fan or a football fan, you love it no matter what. It's really fun when your country is in it. It also is really fun at the end of every single match if there are penalty kicks. So I wish that every match we could ensure there be penalty kicks at some point.
Also, corner kicks should come from the corner of the goal. They should be standing like right outside the goal.
Could they just kick it like around?
They'll have to figure out. Does it
have to go like a certain distance?
I don't know. We'll figure that out.
What if it's like an onside kick?
Has to go 10 yards?
It has to go and whatever the equivalent of the soccer 10 yards would be for that specific play.
10 yards.
Well, no. I mean, obviously 10 yards is 10 yards, but I'm saying in the way that the teams line up, obviously there's space in between teams on onside kicks. There's not on corner kicks.
Okay, what if and one more thing to improve soccer.
Okay.
What if you put two like big H's at the end of like 100 yards, and then the ball wasn't round anymore. You made it like a weird shape, like an oblong shape.
Yeah.
And then you can have like 11 on one side, 11 on the other. But it's not the same 11 every time because sometimes you're trying to score and then sometimes you're trying to play defense, and you have a different 11 for both of those. What do you think about that?
So what you're telling me is that there would be a player who specializes in defense that could sit down when the offense is on the field.
No. What I'm telling you is you would have two H's at the end, like goalposts.
Correct, yeah.
An oblong ball.
Right.
And then you would have 11 defensive players and 11 offensive players.
What do the offensive players do when the defensive players are on the field?
I thought you said one player.
Well, I was saying like
A
there would be
player.
guys that would
no.
like a guy on the offense that would potentially lead that side of the ball, but he would rest when the defense is on.
Yeah,
the
sure.
field. Yes.
Yeah.
And also, one of my favorite parts was that this company does not watch soccer because I think there's a yellow card, and every single guy was doing the flag motion. Like for the yellow, like they did the flag motion instead of like a yellow card.
First of all, that's when watching football. That is one of the most fun things to do.
Everyone does it at the
Flag.
same
But
time.
watching soccer, like it's not a soccer motion.
Yeah, no, but
like,
all of us and
Everyone.
Another thing that was very funny at the end of that game when the guy from Iran held the jersey. Everyone's like, "Oh, holding 10-yard penalty, 10-yard penalty." It's like, "Yep, we don't know shit," but it's very fun. I also love that they don't stop time for stuff. I think it's hilarious.
All right, y'all want to talk about that piece of shit, Hugh Freeze?
Let's talk about college football.
Hello and welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast, brought to you by High Noon Hard Seltzer. In front of me is the tailgate pack. It has the cranberry, the pear, the black cherry, and the grapefruit, 2 of each. You can also find incredible flavors like passion fruit and pineapple and lemon and lime and watermelon and peach and all the great passion fruit, if I said that. I don't know. Guava, kiwi. Incredible flavors. High Noon, the best drink for college football, the best drink for any time. If you're watching at a tailgate this weekend, if you're going to a championship game, take some High Noon. If you're watching a championship game at home, buy some High Noon. If you're going to a bar, order some High Noon.
It was a very funny moment on the college football show yesterday because we're sitting there. You guys have High Noons in front of you. We also all have water.
Yeah.
Dave went to go take medicine, cup of water in front of him, closed High Noon, middle of the show. He was like, you know what? Opened up that pear, just sipped on the pear. All day is Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Like, it's that good when you're just sitting there just like, you know what? I'd rather have this than water.
Yeah,
I would rather take my daily medicine with this than water. It was safe, obviously.
High Noon is delicious.
I can't wait to try the pear and the cranberry.
We just got a huge shipment in the office too.
Well, it'll be gone by tonight because everyone steals it.
I'll also hide some under my desk.
Me too.
I think, yeah. But you know what?
You can't hide anything under your desk. Your desk is the most public desk here.
I know. I'll take it home.
But she also knows all the hiding spots. She knows where the bodies are buried. I do feel like if your show is sponsored by High Noon, like Unnecessary Roughness, you should be able to stash away High Noon.
I do. This box has been through hell. Like it's kind of torn up, but there's a Post-it on it. It's like, "Do not touch. I need it for ads." And it's been so far respected. The one tailgate pack in the office.
All right, let's talk college football. So there's a lot going on. We've had some controversial coaching hires, some incredible coaching hires, some more coaching decisions since we last left you. David Shaw at Stanford decided to go ahead.
Which you called.
I did.
Perfectly.
I did. Yeah. No, I never get credit for the ones I call perfectly.
What am I doing right now?
You are giving me credit for the one I call perfectly. But David Shaw retired or stepped away. I think we all know what happened there. He is no longer the coach of Stanford, so they're now on the market. You have head coach openings now at Cincinnati, Colorado, Liberty, Stanford, Texas State, all over the country. The biggest ones are starting to get filled, though. I'd say, the only 2 Power 5 jobs right now open, as long as Georgia Tech has gone ahead and hired Brent Key, or Colorado and Stanford. But we'll get to the coaching hires in a minute. Because who are you texting?
Why?
I was just wondering. I was wondering if you were going to get in the discussion.
I am getting in the discussion. I was letting you run down the show.
You're doing a nice little
If
monologue.
I ever interrupt you when you're doing the rundown of the show, then I get yelled at.
So we're going to do the
You're
coaching.
shedding a lot today.
It's long hair. It's not your hair.
I think it's.
It's not your hair.
Well, I
How'd
know
your
it's
hair
not my
get on
hair.
my hoodie?
But it's not my hair. But
I
it's
have
not,
long hair right now.
It's longer than your hair.
My hair is longer than it normally is right
There's
now.
a very bad story. I won't say who it was in the office.
I know.
It's related to this.
Do you see if we interrupt the rundown?
See? I was like, "Oh, you have hair on you," and so I pulled it. It was connected.
Oh.
Jesus. Okay. So we'll talk about the head coaches. I am going to unveil some Because List winners on this show.
Winners.
Winners. I don't have to wait for the Heisman. I've got the Because List winners, and we'll also talk about. There's one crazy playoff debate that you and I have already engaged in on another show that'll come out Saturday. We're going to engage in it again because I just think it's wild. But let's start with the playoff. Let's start with where we are, because we'll get to Hugh Freeze, we'll get to Lane Kiffin, we'll get to all that. Let's start with this playoff right now, because I think one thing I've come to realize, I think you've come to realize as well, I think it would be preferable, given the landscape we have right now, if the 4 teams that are currently in best position to go to the playoff, and I'm talking Georgia, the SEC champ, Michigan, the Big Ten champ, TCU, and USC.
Yes.
Those are the 4 teams, if the season ended today, I believe would be in the playoff. And I think that would be the ideal playoff for this season, because if TCU or USC fall out, and I think those are the only 2 that really have a chance to fall out. If they fall out, then you start dumpster diving for an Ohio State team that just got killed, or an Alabama team that's lost twice, or further back. Do you agree that this would be the best 4?
Not only do I agree that it would be the best 4, I think it's the most beneficial for the current 4-team playoff system that we have. Because, and I say this every single episode because no fail, there are some morons that don't hear what we're saying, and you and I are both on the same page. We're talking about a 4-team playoff right now. If it extends and expands to 12 teams, we're not going, quote, dumpster diving for other teams, because then that turns into a system where it's a tournament style thing.
Well, it changes the standard.
It changes the standard. So every single time we do this, we're like, well, we don't want to see Ohio State. We don't want to see Alabama. We don't want to see Tennessee. Well, you'd see them at 12. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the 4. So I would prefer it be these 4 teams. I think that if I think it's 99.9%. If the season ended today, these would be the 4 teams, regardless of what comes out tonight, which I still think it'll be those top 4. It should be those 4 teams.
Well, let me ask you this question. I know for a fact Georgia can lose this weekend and still get in the playoff. I believe
Yes.
for a fact Michigan can lose this weekend and get in the playoff.
Yes.
Do you think the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs could lose this weekend and still get in the playoff?
And this is where I think it'll start the argument that we have had on another show. And
We're going to have that.
We're going to have
Okay.
it. And just for the record, it's not just us. It's everybody in this office, and probably for moving forward. I think TCU should be in the playoff regardless if they lose, unless they lose by a shit ton.
By 50.
If they go out and they get embarrassed, which, by the way, no chance in my mind that could happen.
I believe there's a chance that could happen.
They could get blown out by...
Kansas State should have won the game if Adrian Martinez.
There's a difference in
Deuce
winning
Vaughn.
the game
Right.
and being blown out.
They were up 28-10 when their second
I
quarterback
think they
got
had
hurt.
the momentum, and if
But
they
listen, I think that chance is very, very small. I would assume TCU is either going to win or lose close. But these crazy, stupid things happen in football. I just wouldn't rule it out. That's all.
I'm not. To me, there's not a very big chance, just because I think Max Duggan and this offense are never going to get blown out. I think that even if Kansas State can continue, they can score with Will Howard and they can do all of those things, fine. I don't think that Max Duggan is going to get shut out. I don't think that offense has the capability of not putting up a ton of points. However, if TCU, in a hypothetical world, was to lose by a substantial margin and it be an embarrassing game, especially because, what's the line right now?
2.5.
Right. So if they were to lose by, I'm going to say 30,
Mm-hmm.
and then USC wins, then I could see a world where TCU is left out. If TCU loses to Kansas State, who they've already beaten this season,
Yeah.
in a close, respectable game, they should be in anyways, in my opinion.
I think TCU certainly has a chance to lose and get in. Now, obviously, they want to win and get in and just be done with it. And at 13-0, they would absolutely deserve a spot in the playoff. USC is a little bit stickier. They are a 3-point favorite against Utah on Friday night, and if they lose, I think they're probably out. I think that's when you go dumpster diving, because they've already lost, and losing twice to Utah just doesn't tell me that they're ready to be a playoff team.
And that's the key where you said losing twice to Utah, because had they played somebody, and I do love that we're talking about the Pac-12 and the Big 12 who've done away with divisions, because it makes it so much more interesting when it comes down to it. Because if USC was playing somebody they'd already played this season and they had beaten them, and then lose in the Pac-12 championship in a respectable fashion,
Yeah.
then it's a different conversation. Losing to Utah twice does sound a little bit different. However, if I was making the decision, because of what we have sitting on the outside, unless, it's the same thing I said with TCU, unless USC loses by $1 billion, if they lose a close game to Utah, I would want to see USC in the playoff.
Why? That one confuses me.
Because
if they have 2 losses, you put them ahead of.
Well, they lost to Utah by 1 point.
Right.
In the regular season. And when you look back at that game, there were a lot of things that bounced Utah's way that were kind of head scratchers, and Caleb Williams and this offense still played really well. If they go out and get blown out, I would change my mind. If this is still a really close game, I would rather see USC up against a Georgia or a Michigan. They wouldn't play TCU, and I believe it would be Georgia, then running back an Ohio State-Michigan rematch, we know how that game played out.
Well,
we know how.
I don't think you'd be running back that. You'd be running back You'd be running Georgia against Ohio State. But I understand what you're saying. I just think TCU probably could lose. I don't think USC can lose at all.
I don't think they can. I would just personally, and maybe it's because I've really enjoyed this USC team. I'm not saying that they should get in regardless of what happens in the Pac-12 championship, because there's an argument to be had there. But I think that that's where the argument that I know we're about to have does vary depending on the person. And as we saw on another show, it did vary across the board between the five of us. It's not necessarily what should happen, what's in place. It's what we think we would want to see and what's the most fair game, fair, whatever match you want to say matchup. To me, I would rather see USC new blood in the playoff unless they get killed by Utah in the Pac-12 championship. Then I don't want to see.
I think if they lose to Utah, they will not deserve to be a playoff team. But I don't think they'll lose to Utah. However, very quick
before you get to that. So do you think the possibility of USC beating Utah is better than TCU beating Kansas State?
Well, let's have that conversation in a minute. That's a good question.
All right.
I would be remiss if I didn't say this one more time. There's this assumption Caleb Williams already has a spot in his trophy room for the Heisman Trophy, and that's likely true. Since they play on Friday night and since TCU plays on Saturday morning, on the off chance Caleb Williams throws 3 picks and they lose, the next day Max Duggan, who's plus 2,500 to win the Heisman, could put up 40 and a win. I'm just saying, if you wanted to place a bet with a lot of value, that would be your bet to place.
That was a few weeks ago. I think we had, I don't know if it was on Unnecessary Roughness or if it was on a stream, but we definitely talked about that. And it was even more of an outside chance because a lot of guys hadn't, CJ Stroud, Blake Corum, those guys hadn't, put out the fire of their own. Not that it was Blake Corum's fault, he was hurt, but hadn't snubbed their own chances at that point. But it is not a crazy world to say that Max Duggan would be up there. I just, like you mentioned, I just don't see Caleb Williams having that type of abysmal day. What is he minus? Is he still minus 2,000 or 3,000?
I got 3,300 last time.
Yeah.
I mean, it just keeps
He's minus
getting
a lot,
crazier.
but a one bad game could sink that fast.
I know we can't probably see this right at this moment, but I would be curious to see where before the playoff weekend, before the championship weekend, who had the highest odds that lost it, or the best odds,
I would say, if I'm just going by memory, I think Tua a couple of years ago was probably your answer.
Was he that much of a
Tua
favorite?
was a big favorite, and Kyler Murray had a huge Big 12 championship game. Tua had a terrible SEC championship game, and Kyler stole it from him.
I knew he was the favorite. I didn't know if it was that much of a favorite.
Yeah, Tua got benched or got hurt in that game. Remember, that was the Jalen Hurts coming off the bench and saving Alabama against Georgia.
But the thing that feels different about that one versus this one, and maybe it's because the name on the jersey, which goes back to when you talk about TCU deserving to be in if they lose or not. I think that if there was an OU on the front of their jerseys or even a Longhorn, it would be a different story. Kyler Murray felt like he was in it all year. Max Duggan has played his ass off all year and put up ridiculous numbers, and we're just now talking about him potentially being the winner because of who he plays for.
Now, there is an argument that we had on the College Football Show coming out Saturday, and we're going to kind of have it now, too.
There was a lot of arguments on that show, by the way.
Yeah, there were, and they felt good.
Can I tell you, I who picked most of them, which was shocking.
Dan?
Yeah.
Dan
picked so many arguments. He was picking arguments with you, me,
Dave.
Dave. But like when we talked about the USC Utah game, and I was like, I hate to bring it up. He was like, do you? I was like, oh, Dan's on one today, isn't he?
All right, so
lots of arguing. It was a very long show.
There's this thought out there that, let's say we're going to use USC for an example because we need a spot to open up. Okay. There's a spot that if USC loses and no longer is playoff viable according to the committee or is going to get replaced, there's a thought out there that, oh my God, Alabama's going to get in. Alabama will get in. That is hogwash, in my opinion. That I cannot believe there are human beings that think Alabama will get in over Ohio State. Now take away your recency and what just happened. I understand Ohio State just lost to Michigan by 3 touchdowns at home in an embarrassing showing. They belong in the playoff before Alabama does. Don't confuse what I'm saying. I didn't just tell you Ohio State belongs in the playoff. What I said was Ohio State belongs in the playoff before Alabama in 2022. But you think Alabama would deserve it over Ohio State.
I don't necessarily think I used the word deserve, and I don't want to spoil the show, but it was.
Well, this is an argument we could have.
Yeah, no. You and I can have it. We can have it. Everybody was on multiple different sides. my argument is that I would rather see Alabama in the playoff than Ohio State because of the way that Ohio State played against Michigan. They were 9.5-point favorites. They lost by 3 scores. They got absolutely destroyed. And yes, their Penn State win was a good win. But all season, we were looking at the Big Ten and we were saying it's Ohio State and it's Michigan. And those are the only 2 teams in the Big Ten that are worth a shit that can make it into the playoff. And then they roll out against their rival in the last weekend of the regular season and lay an egg so disgusting that Ohio State fans were in the middle of the game in the heat of passion talking about trying to fire Ryan Day. Now, when you look at Alabama, yes, I understand they have 2 losses. When you look at those 2 losses, they're very, very close. So when I look at how those teams have lost, which inside of the amount of losses I know is in a vacuum, I would rather see Alabama in the playoff than Ohio State. We know what Ohio State's going to do against Michigan.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
We just saw it.
No, we don't. If that's the case, then Alabama would beat Georgia for the national title last year.
But they were in the SEC championship.
No,
Ohio State can't even win their own division.
No, what you said was we know what Michigan would do against Ohio State.
Do you think if Michigan and Ohio State played again that
I think it would be different, yeah.
You think that they would win?
Alabama beat Georgia by 17 points last year. Mm-hmm. And then a month later, Georgia won by 15.
But they both made it out of their division.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
It matters to me.
Why? But that's not what you said.
Because I don't think
what you said was
this is
the fun. This is fun.
No, but this is my thing about the championship weekend. I think the championship weekend matters.
But what you said was we know what Ohio State would do against Michigan.
Yeah, we just saw it.
Okay. So the question is that we saw last year Alabama and Georgia played. Alabama won by 3 touchdowns. They played again. Georgia won. That could happen.
That absolutely. I don't think it could though. I do not.
Why?
Think
See, we just saw it. We saw it happen.
Because I don't believe that this Ohio State team can match up with Michigan. The same reason I thought Michigan was going to beat Ohio State the first time.
Okay, that is a better answer. That answer works.
The same way that I thought Michigan was going to win is the same thing I think would happen again.
Fair enough.
I think that if you lose a game by epic proportions, the way that Ohio State did in their last game of the regular season to not advance to the Big Ten championship, to win your division, to go play for your conference, that should come into play.
It should, and that's fine. But here's the thing. We play to win the game. There are 12 weeks in a season. Ohio State played 12 times and won 11 games by double digits, including a road win at number 10 Penn State. Alabama lost twice. I don't care how close they were. They lost twice. They lost to Tennessee. They lost to LSU. And if you look at the resumes and you say, this team lost once, this team lost twice. Mm-hmm. This team beat number 10 on the road. This team beat nobody. Alabama doesn't have a win. They do not have – their best wins are 8-4 Mississippi State and 8-4 Ole Miss. I love the Magnolia State. Those aren't great wins for Alabama. Alabama, both times they played somebody that could beat them, lost. Alabama didn't earn a playoff. Alabama does not have a better playoff resume than Ohio State.
I don't – and that's where, and you look at the reason a 12-team playoff would be so much better, because I would love to see a world where both of them get in and prove – if they actually deserve to be there.
Let me tell people right now, because people might be rolling their eyes. Oh, you're arguing about Ohio State and Alabama. Neither of us believe
either should be in.
They're going to get in right now. However, if USC loses and opens up a spot, you better believe this playoff committee is going to be discussing these 2 teams.
You know what I just thought about?
What?
So you know how we recorded the
show?
Why
are you
yesterday?
whispering?
Well, I had a thought. I don't think it's whispering. I think we've just been
all right.
Our voices have been high. We had that whole argument on the college football show. By the time that show airs,
yeah,
USC will have already played.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I did not even think about that.
That's true.
When we and when I say we, it was all 5 of us. That it's going to look buffoonish.
That's fine. Whatever. We'll figure that out.
I just put
We'll
that
figure
together.
that out later. We'll figure that out later.
I'd like to repeat that I understand why Ohio State, if you look at the wins versus the losses, and you look at the number of losses, why Ohio State would get in. I personally would rather see Alabama, because and to give credit to Texas, and I don't know where Texas is going to end up in the college football playoff rankings tonight, but I mean, Alabama beating Texas does hold weight to me, because Penn State is the best win of all of them that they have. But all season, it seems like we discredited and I say we just as a collective college football fan base, unless you are a Big Ten fan, we discredited the Big Ten outside of Ohio State and Michigan, and now all of a sudden we're putting a ton of weight into the Penn State.
We were wrong
win.
though. I mean, Penn State ended up 10-2. Penn State was an interesting team this year. That when they played Ohio State, Michigan, they weren't good enough, and they were outclassed. But when they played everybody else, they were great.
But I think that's because outside of those teams, which we've said in this room, the Big Ten is not very good.
No, but Penn State is probably good. I think Penn State is right there, is pretty good. And then we don't have – listen, Auburn sucks. But they did go on the road and beat the shit out of Auburn by 30. So, like, when they had a chance to play somebody outside the conference, they played well.
I think that if the argument was reversed where, say, Ohio State had 2 losses and Alabama only had 1, but then they go out and they just absolutely lay an egg to – I understand Auburn's not in the picture, but I would feel the same way regardless. To me, it's just like I think that teams in the 4-team playoff should be penalized if you get blown out when you're almost a double-digit favorite at home. I do think they should be.
But not as much as they should get penalized for losing 2 games. Not as much as they should get penalized for losing 2 games.
That's why I like the committee, because and I say this because this is the way that I feel, and I know that it's obviously you can pick anything apart, but if we're just going to look at the way teams lose or just look at the number of losses, then should just go back to the computer system.
No, it's not just that. It's not. It's that and a combination of things. Oh, Alabama. They lost 2 games, fine. That's not as big a deal as the fact that they didn't win any games. They don't have a win. They do not have a win.
Do you think the committee will see that, though, and not just the name on the front of the jersey?
Well, against Ohio State?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's 2 names that they're really gonna have to discuss this.
That's the issue. That's the nightmare for the committee, because it is Ohio State. If it was, and I would even put Michigan, and I know Michigan's a blue blood program too, but they haven't been the Ohio State of the Big Ten in the last few years. If it was any other team other than Ohio State, I would agree with what you just said. The problem is it's a nightmare for them because it's 2 names in the front of the jersey that they like to appease. We've said this, and I think it would have to be absolute chaos for it to happen. I mean, I guess not that crazy if both TCU and USC lose. Regardless, an SEC Big Ten Invitational
That'd be fun.
Would be the best case scenario for the name on the front of the jerseys for the college football playoff
for the viewers
committee.
Probably, yeah, but
and
okay.
For the viewers, but I don't want to see. I want to see, like we've said a million times, Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC. That's what I want to see.
So if it holds right now, it would probably be Georgia against USC and Michigan against TCU. So I personally want TCU and USC to go ahead and finish this off and finish these wins, but they're both only – USC's a 3-point favorite, TCU's a 2.5-point favorite. If, gun to your head right now, I told you one of these teams is going to lose, USC or TCU, which one do you think it is? I think it's TCU.
I think it's TCU, and it's a very –
I did not predict that.
No, you just –
I stuck a gun to my head.
Hypothetically. Not for real. So if you're listening, don't be alarmed. I personally don't like either pick because I think they're both going to win. I've also been very high on both of these teams. I mean, it took me a little bit to get on.
I'm not asking you if you're high on both these teams. I'm saying if you had.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It took me long. Where I was saying is I've been high on both of them, but it took me longer to get on the TCU plane than it did the USC. So I would have to say TCU. I just don't see a world where Utah's offense is going to be able to keep up with the way USC's offense looks now. I know it's been, not that many weeks, but it's been enough. And Cam Rising just has not looked the same the last part of the season. I think their running back just declared for the NFL draft. He's not even going to play. Kansas State, we know, has been rolling. So that it does lead me to believe if one of these teams were going to lose, it'd be TCU, but I don't think either one's going to. And also, I would like it on record that if Ohio State gets in the playoff because one of those teams lose, I understand the rationale. I just don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see it.
I just think they're 5th. They're on deck.
Do you think tonight, so that I know that by the time this comes out.
Yeah, I think they'll be ahead of Alabama.
So they were having that argument in the kitchen
yesterday. They should be ahead of Alabama.
Somebody, I don't know who it wasn't an Alabama fan, but there were Alabama fans in the vicinity they were saying that they think that potentially for the sake of argument, for the sake of clicks, just like that graphic that ESPN put out, which was clearly a troll job in my opinion, that they would put Alabama ahead of Ohio State just for the sake of chaos for viewership this week, regardless of how they actually feel. I don't think the committee is smart enough to do that. Not smart, like that sounded really patronizing. Clever enough, thank you.
Devious enough.
Petty enough.
Petty enough. Probably
I don't think they're petty, devious, whatever word, enough to do that. because I think they're going to want just the actual product that they truly believe out there. That's where if I was in it, I would say, folks, I know how to fix all of this, Brandon. Let's do a 12-team playoff. That's how you fix all of this.
Do you want a better sex life?
Who doesn't?
Wait, what? Oh, I see what you're doing here.
I literally read the first sentence.
Well, I was trying to help you set it up.
Do you want a better sex life? If so, you're not alone. Everybody just raise their hands. Even if you have a great sex life, you probably still want a better one, I would assume.
Yeah,
Why would you decline a better sex life?
I feel like that's declining better pizza.
Yeah, I don't want more money. No, I don't want to be happier.
No, I don't want a nicer lifestyle.
Up to 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of wanting or enjoying sex. Could be they're slightly overweight. Maybe their ears are slightly misshapen. Maybe life just hasn't been as kind to them as you thought they would be.
It's football season.
Maybe once they started making money, that the spark is gone. You know,
You
who
good?
knows?
You good? Something going on?
But Roman is here to help. Roman is the digital health clinic for men. The digital health clinic for men. Roman addresses a variety of sexual health needs for men. Roman offers discreet wipes that help you last 4 times longer in bed. They offer genuine medication that helps achieve and maintain a strong erection. Bam.
Oh, boy. Jack's not here to help you out with this one, so I'm just going to let you go.
Roman offers a testosterone test, which includes lab processing, and if it's appropriate for you, treatment for low testosterone. Now we're talking. I think I have to take that test.
Low T, huh?
And men with low T, getting testosterone levels back to normal can increase your libido. At Roman, there are no waiting rooms and no hassle. It's just a straightforward digital experience from the comfort of your home. If medication or testing is appropriate, Roman will send it directly to your door. Everything arrives in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. To learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, and that's both sexual and health, boys, 2 very important things, go to ro.co/walker today, ro.co/walker today to get 20% off your entire order. That's ro.co/walker to unlock that sexual being inside of you.
Oh, boy. You should see his face right now, folks.
Growl.
It is, oh, boy. The lip quiver was too much. It was too much.
I didn't lip quiver, did I?
Yes, you did.
It's just a
On
natural
the
thing for
YouTube,
me.
people will see it.
Can I make my announcement?
Yeah.
What better time?
What better time?
What better time? Can I say something first?
Yes.
Our group text for Unnecessary Roughness is a battleground sometimes. You never know what's going to pop up, literally. You never know what's going to be discussed. What you're about to announce was probably on the list of the last 5 things I expected to get from you on a Saturday night before we were recording.
Ladies and gentlemen, on Saturday night, Brandon Walker, I received my first boobs DM from a roughneck, female roughneck.
Thank you, Noah's even
confetti
clapping.
cannons from after
A
the
moment 3 years in the making, a moment that had been teased before, a moment that had been, boy, I just don't know. I didn't know if it would ever happen. I never pursued it. I simply mentioned it a couple times offhanded on the show.
Couple times.
But it's real, and it was spectacular.
I will say that it is very important to also announce that this was a real woman. This was not a catfish situation.
All indications are yes.
This is not like a fake guy or gal out there that's pulling nudes from the
However,
internet.
even if it was,
You didn't care.
I just cared that the boobs were real.
I'm shocked it took so long because we've had this conversation.
Because you get dicks all the time.
I remember the one I showed you the other day.
Yeah, that thing was in trouble.
It had a problem.
Yeah.
It had a problem.
Yeah.
I of course did not warn Brandon whatsoever and was
Yeah.
like, "You want to see this?" And it just
That thing was troubling.
There was something going on. But we've talked enough about the unsolicited dick pics that girls get in their DMs.
Thought
on
I
the
would
show.
get one unsolicited boob.
I mean, especially with the amount of, I assume, college aged or fun party people that love college football, the big drunk. You know what? I think I'm going to send Brandon some boobs, and it finally happened.
Yeah.
I didn't see them, so I don't know if they were good boobs or not, but I don't think it matters, does it?
Oh no, it didn't matter at all. And they were spectacular. Speaking of boobs, Hugh Freeze is the new head coach.
Wait, hold on. Let's just recap what just happened. You talked about a better sex life to
Titties
boobs
to Hugh Freeze.
to Hugh Freeze. That, my friends, is what you call a professional.
Seems connected to me. Seems like a hell of a segue. Hugh Freeze is the new head coach at Auburn University. He is the head Tiger. He previously worked as the head coach at hold on. Put that down. I was going to unveil that in a minute. Hugh Freeze is the new head coach of the University of Auburn University, and famously on this show, maybe the Brandon Walker College Football Show, it was the Brandon Walker Show, I said Hugh Freeze will never, ever get a Power 5 job again. If you start doing a background check into Hugh Freeze, you're going to find some troubling things, and you're going to have to sell your soul to the devil to hire this man because he wins football games. And I believed it then. I believe it now. I just underestimated the depravity and the desperation of the Auburn Tigers because they just don't give a shit. If he can win football games, they don't care that he's DMing sexual assault victims. If he can win football games, they don't care that he's got certain things in his past at Ole Miss or even beyond that. Auburn just hired a very, very good football coach, a terrific football coach, and they are probably going to win football games. But, gross.
It's also very important to reiterate what you just said, as the number one thing that we're pointing out is that he has DM'd people accusing them of, I don't know, I don't want to say the word lying.
Raise your hand on the show if Hugh Freeze has ever DM'd you.
I can't remember.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Didn't you DM him about being on the show?
No, I think that was Jack.
Well, that was you.
No, I just tweeted just outright.
Oh, really?
And he tweeted back.
Oh, I didn't DM back?
I mean, I can't remember.
I'm sure he's in your DMs. God
You know-
knows every other coach is.
Okay.
Well, don't put anybody on blast. I'd have to go back and look. I do. We definitely interacted via regular tweets recently because he was being a big old pussy and wouldn't come on the show. People, when you look at the situation with Hugh Freeze, the easiest and the most clickbait thing is the hookers, right? So people are like, oh, well, you know what? And I know he said it was a misdial, sir. It was clearly not a misdial. So,
Yeah.
like,
I know I missed dial numbers 7 or 8 times.
Miss me with that. However, that's not the most egregious thing that is in his past, like you mentioned, at Ole Miss and maybe even before that. And it's coming back to light on social media, but I do feel like, and I've fallen, accustomed to it too, where it's like, oh, well, Hugh Freeze called hookers, like, haha, that's a funny story. There's a lot worse shit that's gone on. And that's why when Auburn fans are trying to defend this hire, it's like, are you guys just missing the point here? Are you missing the bigger story? Is that he has been doing shady shit outside of just the funny headline of calling hookers.
Let me tell you something. You can make fun of Clemson and Dabo and call them a cult, and they are the number one cult in America right now. But that time is drawing to a close because if you think Clemson and Dabo were a cult, wait till you get Hugh Freeze on his high horse and Auburn's fan base together. There's no fan base in the country that likes to tout their integrity and their morals more than the Auburn family. They're not a fan base, they're a family. And I don't know if you saw this clown on Twitter the other night. I don't remember his name. Herring is his last name.
I'm going to go find it right now.
And he was talking about how he wanted him to hire Lack, and Lack was a great guy and everything, and
Herring.
he cares about the boys. But I'm going to tell you, Lane Kiffin, you don't fit at Auburn because you ain't got the integrity. Bull fucking shit. You go on Twitter and you preach about integrity, and then you hire Hugh Freeze. You sell your soul to the devil to hire Hugh Freeze. If you want to hire Hugh Freeze, fine. You cannot preach about integrity and family and all that and then do it. That's just hypocritical bullshit. And my favorite from that video, if you haven't seen it, it's on Unnecessary Reference Twitter.
Will Herring.
I swear to God, this man, I think he played at Auburn.
Yeah, he's verified.
Said the words, I've never met Hugh Freeze, but he is a man of integrity. And that's what we need at Auburn. That's who we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. It's an incredible hire from a football perspective, and it's an embarrassing hire from a human perspective.
I'm going to double down on what you just said about he's never met him, but he's a man of integrity. He also mentioned that he knows, I believe it's Hugh Freeze's daughter and his brother-in-law. They go to church together. When he said, I feel like I've known this man for a year and a half, I lost it. Usually when you say that, like, I feel like I've known you forever.
Right.
I feel like I've known you all my life. I feel like I've known you
for 450 days.
I feel like I've known you for 16 months.
I really feel like I've known you for all the way back to mid-2021.
Think about this. You could put how long this man believes he's known Hugh Freeze in the way you talk about babies.
Yeah.
My baby is 18 months old.
If this this hypothetical time he knew Hugh Freeze was a player, it'd be a redshirt freshman. maybe a sophomore.
You would still be able to put up their Instagram photo on like a little blanket where it's like 18 months.
I just
And you know what? The year and a half, that might be rounding up. It could be 16.
Hugh Freeze is the biggest cult leader in
Could be
America,
20.
and he just joined up with one of the biggest cults in America. It's going to be something to see. However, he better win fast, or because not everybody at Auburn's on board with this thing. There's a lot of people that are not all that pleased. We'll see about that. But it's two more things. So, Brandon, you said that he'll never get a Power 5 job. Have you ever seen a coach get hired and they immediately have to hire a PR firm to help with backlash? And
not a great look.
have you ever seen a coach get fired and allegedly, reportedly, the school says, okay, well, you have to give us your Twitter password and your Instagram. You can't have social media. We're going to run it.
And he's trying to say that is not true. However, to both of those points, one, like, doesn't Auburn probably already have a PR firm? What, their PR firm is not capable of handling?
I assume the Auburn Tigers with Bruce Pearl on staff already has had a PR firm for a while.
Exactly. I feel like all major programs and universities do. So that will tell you how bad this even is, because the current one they have on staff, the current one they've used before, have worked with, is not good enough. And then two, even if this is not true, that he had to hand over his social media password and whatever else, the fact that there's even a rumor that that's potentially true and people believe it tells you how bad it is. It's completely different because we're talking about video games versus bad things he's done on social media. But with like the Kyler Murray, where there's smoke, there's fire, when they had to have the video game clause in the contract and it came out, I was like, well, that's not necessarily true. The fact that it was even put on the table and people believed it tells you there's some sort of factual evidence in some sort of conversation along the way. Hugh Freeze having to give over his password to things makes complete sense to me.
We're going to find a burner.
Oh, my God.
Well, he's probably got multiples.
Yeah, he's already got burners. But we'll find
Katie's on it. Katie was...
She's on a burner hunt.
Well, did you see she was offering money up?
Okay, so here's the thing.
And there's a lot of links that got sent. Obviously, it's all fans, but like there's a like Hugh 43299, like Coach AU. There's going to be...
All right. So the shame of this... And Brandon, you said he'll never get a Power 5 job. I really believe that, and I still believe that should be the case. If you remember 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago when Auburn's job was open, I said Hugh Freeze is going to get it. Hugh Freeze is going to get it. Hugh Freeze is going to get it.
You did say that.
When he didn't get it, I was like, what the fuck? Why did they hire Brian Harsin when Hugh Freeze is out there? Because I thought they'd hire him last time. So why didn't they hire him then? Why did they wait till now? It's just weird. I think 2 years of losing said 2 years ago they were like, we can't hire Hugh Freeze. Lost a couple more years, like, you know what? We have to hire Hugh Freeze.
And you said something on the stream last week that made a whole lot of sense of, because, of course, like, people are going to jump all over well, you said it was going to be Lane Kiffin, and you're going to link Lane Kiffin for the rest of time. That's just going to happen. He's at Ole Miss. But which makes even more sense of why they would do it now is because they probably wanted Lane. That was probably going to happen. There are now reports out there that it stalled in negotiations. But what you said on last Saturday was, well, they realized they can go out and get Hugh Freeze
for $6.
For way cheaper than they can go get Lane.
Could have got Lane for 10 or Hugh Freeze for 6, and that's probably what happened. Now, before we go any further, yes.
Well, so that's another thing about that Will Herring video. If people haven't seen it, we buried the lead. The fact that before he even gets into knowing Hugh Freeze for a year and a half, allegedly in his mind, he mentions, well, Lane, you're not a man of integrity, and you wouldn't fit in here.
It's the most shocking thing I've ever seen. I'll say a lot of things about Lane. I've never seen any indication he doesn't have integrity. I mean, Joey Freshwater was like a funny thing, it was just like, oh yeah, he's a single man going out and hitting on co-eds. Oh my God. Breakdown. Yeah, the fact that he said that, it's like, well, when he said that, I was like, well, where's this video going? Because he says, I think we should hire Cadillac. And then he says, Lane Kiffin, you wouldn't have fit here because we're about integrity. If we don't have integrity, I don't want to have a program. And I'm thinking, okay, where is he going? And then he says, but Hugh Freeze, that's a man of integrity. Go fuck yourself.
Had Jack not sent it in the group text with the context that he did, I would have thought that he was going to say, Lane Kiffin, you don't fit in, and then
Hugh Freeze, you really don't fit in.
You really don't fit in, and like Cadillac, we kept calling him Lack. Lack should be the guy. But because Jack sent it the way that he did, I was like, is this man about to circle back and after he's buried Lane Kiffin and be like, Hugh Freeze, you're the man. As a cult member, a college football cult member, me being one, I will own it because, it's just a fact. If A&M was in the situation that Auburn is currently in, and it was like, well, I either have the chance to come out and say, because it happened a little bit with Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher's past is not completely clean either. Nothing like what we've seen.
Not many coaches are.
Right, but like the Jameis Winston stuff was like there. I didn't come out and be like, as a woman of integrity and I am standing behind it. It was like, well, if he's going to win football games, I can see why they would do it, but let's not act like he's a completely shiny penny coming in. Auburn fans are acting like this man is forgiven for every single thing and is the shiniest person ever, which, again...
The way coaches use the Jesus crutch to Deep South crowds is pretty sickening.
Did you listen to the press conference?
It's sickening. I don't even want to get into it. I listened to a little bit of it. When he called himself a victim, I kind of turned it out.
He went on a whole rant. I think he did like faith, alliance, something, love, you. It basically spelled out family as a whole thing on faith. Is like not just religion, not that you
whatever.
believe
I
in
can't take that
being.
shit.
No, it is. It's sickening because
Scripted.
it's like
He's using it for benefit in his career.
And he started crying too.
You're not using it for the right reasons. You're not using it to actually appeal to people's sense of their spirituality and what they believe with faith. You're using it to try to get them on your side.
To build a football program, yeah. Casey, give me this. Katie, give me this shirt. So it also needs to be said that Lane Kiffin, God bless him, tried his best to get the Auburn job, and I assume he wanted $10 million, and they ultimately decided that an 8-4 coach who loses 4 out of his last 5 and has never beaten a winning SEC team in 26 games wasn't worth $10 million. Probably a smart decision on their part, but I was right. Ole Miss fans who are dunking on me, oh, Brandon, you were wrong. Lane. Lane spent 2 weeks negotiating and talking to Auburn. That motherfucker tried to get out of there. He tried. He just didn't work. Now, it's not like I went out and had a bunch of Lane Train shirts in Auburn's colors made. That would have been stupid.
Yeah, luckily we have 3 of them printed.
That would have been crazy.
Only 3?
Yeah.
If I would have done that.
You know what?
These one for you too.
I'm keeping this.
I'm keeping mine too.
Okay.
If you're watching it on YouTube, you can see that he has one, which is fantastic, in his hands. It's the epitome of like the loser of the Super Bowl shirts that get like sent overseas.
Also, I need you guys to know that I did not make that shirt. That shirt was made without my blessing. But
I will hand up. I made it. I told them about it.
right.
What I made it off.
I
of
love
him,
the shirt.
Yeah.
Off of your direction.
Now
You had good points.
we have one more piece of business to attend to because I'm a man of integrity myself.
Uh-oh.
And a few weeks ago, I said I wrote something down and I handed it to Noah. And Noah, if you will step forward over here and hand me the sheet, we agree that you hand to me.
Did you talk to Noah on the side?
I've talked to Noah about the show before. I haven't talked to him on the side.
Can I read it?
You can read it. I mean,
Noah, has it stayed in your wallet the whole time? It has there been any time that Brandon Walker may or may not have been able to take it from you?
Did he try?
no.
Did he ever try to?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
man
So-
of
I'm a
honor.
man of integrity.
So do we know how long ago this was?
About 3 weeks.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's been longer than that.
3
All
to
right.
4 weeks.
This is what I wrote on the paper.
Liar. You are a liar. He's a liar. I mean, this is a lie. This paper, this is such bullshit. This paper that I'm holding, folks,
What does it
if
say?
you are watching on YouTube, you see the disbelief in our faces because it's just a bold-faced bullshit lie. It says Hugh Freeze. That is not true. Wait a minute.
It says Hugh Freeze.
Oh,
Look at it. Look at it.
Brandon.
What? Look at
Wait.
it. Look at
What
it.
is the
Look at it.
November 10th?
Look at it. That is the sheet that I had on November 10th.
No, it's not.
Look at it. Look at the date on the ad copy.
No.
I fooled him the whole time, Noah.
No,
I told him it was
no,
going to be
no.
Hugh Freeze.
No. You know what?
You did not.
No, you didn't.
No, you fucking
You know
didn't.
what Noah did? Noah went back in.
First of all, hold on, time. You're not going to cast aspersions at our young producer.
I know that, sir.
Noah
Sir, I know you don't know how to print these out because I don't know how to print
Who
them
the hell
out.
would not go print something out that says November 10th?
Noah would.
Yeah,
Katie
he
would.
doesn't.
You know what? Jack did it.
Jack didn't do it.
Jack did it.
You know I'm not gonna liar to pretend.
Jack did not do it. I wrote Hugh Freeze on the fucking page. I knew Lane was just using him to get a raise. I knew Lane was just doing this. I knew Lane was going to lose his last.
You did not know.
I knew Lane was going to lose 4 of his last 5 games, and I knew that Auburn is a desperate cult, and they were going to turn to the Satan himself, Hugh Freeze. I knew it the whole time.
You are not that. You cannot do a bit for that long because you were so sure
That's what
on
I'm
Lane
saying.
Kiffin. We had shirts done. We had everything talked about.
This is.
What does it say on the sheet, Casey?
It says Hugh Freeze, but Brandon, I've known you for a long. I feel like I've known you for a year and a half. I feel like I've known you for however long. You are way too proud of a person to put out the takes that you have knowing you were wrong for this amount of time.
Maybe it was all a setup to this exact moment.
No bullshit. I mean, if you want credit to you if you did, because it's an incredible troll. But I have a really hard time believing that you went on not just this very program, you went on your nightly YouTube program, you went on the college football show, you went out on Twitter before God and everybody, and you said Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin, and the whole time you knew it was Hugh Freeze?
Pretty genius, don't you think?
It's just no way that's
I don't
true.
know how he did it, but he did it somehow.
No, I think he had somebody, I know it wouldn't be you because you couldn't lie, go back and print out this paper.
First of all,
Noah, did you print out this paper?
No. First of all, do you think I came, Noah, did I come up to you today and say, hey, print me out the paper
Not
from
today.
November 10th? Did I do that?
At any
point, did I come up to you and do that?
No.
No. What happened was I came up to Noah today with a sheet of paper that said Hugh Freeze on it, and he looked at it and he said, this is the wrong sheet of paper. Let me go get you the right one. And I said, okay. So he went and printed that out, and he brought it back to me, and I wrote Hugh Freeze, and that's what happened.
It would have been an incredible flip. You have way too much pride and ego. But Brandon, can I tell you?
All-time clip though.
When you know how like they'll have in like hostage situations in movies, they'll be like hold up today's like New York Times or whatever. When I flipped this over, I was like, oh, it's gonna say Tuesday, November 29th, and I was like, it says November 10th. Let me do it. Let me see.
Did you like also sign part of it?
10th. 11 years, 77 million.
I actually
11?
I actually got that wrong at the time. I did the math wrong. While I was writing it down in my head. It was actually 7 years, 11 million per year for 77. It was 7 times 11 for 77. I accidentally wrote 11 years, 77. But it was 7 years, 77 million is what I heard at the time.
That also
makes sense why they said no.
Yeah.
That's nearly half.
I don't see, but I don't know. Like, you think they would have only given him a 7-year?
Like that?
I don't know, but $77 million.
I feel like
11 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Jimbo Fisher's contract just dicked everybody over.
I really think it's
This
possible.
also just is not your handwriting.
Yeah, it is.
I wrote that.
Really?
Yeah.
You can tell by the R.
Really? We've
Yeah,
known
you
each
have-
other.
Yes.
We've known each other that long?
That's your R.
You have the script.
You have a really weird like, I don't know how to explain it, but fantastic troll. That needs to be clipped out by itself because there was.
There's my R right there.
Yeah, I know. I
God,
know
you
your
wrote
R.
it perfectly.
I know I did.
Look at that.
You think that I know you better than Will Herring knows
My
Hugh
R is
Freeze?
basically a check mark.
It's not. It's like I do my Z's like this, which is I don't know where.
That's just a 3.
I don't know where the fuck that came from.
Yeah.
So like, what's a word with a Z? Like if I'm like I'm going to the zoo.
Yeah.
To the zoo. So
You're going to the 300.
It looks
it's
bizarre.
the cursive Z. That's the.
But I can tell by your R is the same way because it just doesn't look like an R. Boy, that was a roller coaster because
All right.
I really thought I had a gotcha moment with the date, and Noah is too smart for us.
Let me tell you something.
Me having the foresight to know that you would check the date and reprinting out the old.
That's
Noah
very
known us
Let me
for
tell you
so
something.
long.
Let me
He
tell you
feels
something.
like it's known us forever.
I came up with the idea to do this, but when we need a soldier and a hitter, he's the devious one. He's the one that figured out he needed to
usually
do
the
that.
quiet ones.
Yeah, it's usually the quiet ones.
Well-
All I did was I took out a yak sheet from today and I just wrote it. He looked at the yak sheet and he was like,
Well, he probably remembers that the day that we did this,
Yeah.
I said make sure it has the date, or I said it's going to have the date
and he
on
didn't even
it.
say
because-
anything. He just left. And then he came back like 10 minutes later with a sheet of paper and he said, write it on this one. I'm like, okay, whatever you say, Noah.
Fantastic. But yeah, no, that was the first thing I did, Noah, because I was on my Scorsese shit. I was like, fuck, November 10th.
All right. You know, Freeze is a
that was
controversial
good, Brandon.
hire
That was good.
and a funny hire and whatever, and that'll come out in the wash. I don't want it to overshadow what I think is the best hire of the offseason so far. Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin.
Fantastic
Boy, did they
hire.
pull a rabbit out of their hat with that one.
So one thing with Bigger, I know that is obviously it was on purpose that stuff was leaked. We found out about Luke Fickell less than 24 hours before it happened.
But
Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze was kind of in the works talking.
But this is the season. Remember last year, the day after the last game, we woke up and Lincoln Riley was just going to USC,
Yeah.
and nobody thought that. And
It is
then
impressive,
Brian
the
Kelly was going to
disparity.
LSU. Nobody thought that, and Luke Fickell is this year's Lincoln Riley. Nobody heard about it. Nobody rumored it. Nobody said anything, and it's really it was assumed that Luke Fickell was waiting for an Ohio State, a Penn State, a gigantic job in the Midwest, and he's got a chance to make Wisconsin that gigantic job.
Fantastic hire, and it came out of the clouds. Wisconsin fans are obviously happy. They should be. I think it's definitely the best hire. I still think Matt Rule is up there, but we know how. I mean, Luke Fickell has been the guy for the last few years. You just keep waiting. I mean, this makes the Big Ten very interesting.
I think it's a great
interesting. It's already
move
interesting.
on the whole for the Big Ten because
Yes.
you have Ohio State and Michigan established at the top, and right under them you have Penn State established right below them, and you need to strengthen out the rest of that conference. And right behind Penn State is going to be Wisconsin. Over the last 10, 15 years, they've been very good, but they've fallen off. Now Fickell solidifies them as an easily top 4, and then you got Nebraska with Matt Rule. That's interesting as well. And here comes USC, UCLA in a couple of months,
And
a couple of years.
And the cool thing for Wisconsin fans, because when they fired Paul Chryst, there was a lot of the rumors. Jack was pulling up a lot of things about how Paul Chryst had just not been up to date on recruiting, and he was kind of doing like the '90s version of recruiting, which is clearly not going to work in 2022. Luke Fickell, who's a young guy who has the success that he does, knows how to recruit his ass off, and Wisconsin is not far removed from being a winning program in the Big Ten. Now, they've not taken that next step in the ceiling that Ohio State has, or potentially Michigan, depending on how they do this year in the playoff. But it makes the Big Ten West a lot more interesting.
It does. Don't know if the Big Ten West will exist in a couple of years. We'll figure that out.
Again, if you talk to people that are fans of teams in the Big Ten West, they want to keep it that way because they like the idea.
They get to go to Indianapolis.
That they don't have to run up against the big boys of Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. I think for the rest of us, I'd like to see divisions go away. But I think both Matt Rule and Luke Fickell being in the Big Ten next year, regardless of when UCLA and USC come in, I think it makes it so much more interesting. And I love both the hires.
Yeah, they're two good hires. Georgia Tech also keeping interim Brent Key, it looks like. So that we'll see how that goes. I know they certainly played a lot better this year under him as opposed to Jeff Collins, but I don't know. It can't be that exciting of a hire.
I know we're moving past Auburn, but you saw that Cadillac Williams is staying on
I saw
staff.
that. Yeah, and that's key. Cadillac Williams, you always need a Cadillac Williams around your program, a guy that bleeds your colors, a guy that will be here through coach after coach after coach, and the players love,
Any thoughts about
Can you bring up the Cadillac picture again? And I noticed this. Click on that. Did you Photoshop that picture? Because it's too high. There's more to that picture below that.
No.
No.
I screenshot.
You need to find that picture, and I want to talk about that picture with you guys.
Oh God, what happened?
No, just go to Cadillac's Twitter.
I am. I'm looking.
Yeah, and not that big of a deal, but Cadillac has the weirdest pants I've ever seen in my life. I
Not that.
Yes. Look.
What's wrong with them?
What's wrong with them?
Oh, wait a
They're
minute.
dress pants with a belt and sweatpants drawstrings.
Do you think that maybe those sweatpants
Look at those.
drawstrings are from like shorts underneath or something?
Gotta be. But those look like dress pants, a black belt, and those are sweatpant drawstrings sticking out of the belt.
You know what world I would love to live in? That he's wearing sweatpants that have like the fancier button or fancier pockets, and then realized this was happening and just threw on like what you would at a desk.
You know, the world we're living in is he was sitting in that office in a T-shirt and shorts.
Yes.
Freeze came in and said, "We got to get a picture." All right, coach, hold on. And he just grabbed the nearest dress clothes he had.
It's like when you see people.
That might not be his shirt.
It might not be his belt. It might be just.
Might not be his pants.
They just had to go find somebody in the.
He's wearing a good-looking pair of gray dress pants, a black belt, and drawstrings sticking out of the belt. It's crazy.
You know, this is one of those things. It's like, is it the shorts? Now I have to know. Did anybody in the comments talk about it? Because
I think I'm the only person in America that
Yeah,
saw
you
it.
are the first person.
I love this observation because that is mind blowing. And because we can't see if it's a zipper or if it's buttons or if there's anything.
Or those dress sweatpants. That's
They do
possible.
make those. They do make those.
All right,
Shockers.
here we go. So, where are we at? Should I get to the
Wait, thoughts about it for Arizona State?
Kenny Dillingham, offensive coordinator for Oregon, exciting young coach.
It's like 32.
Very exciting young coach. We'll see. It's a risk. It's a roll of the dice for Arizona State. But if you're Arizona State, I think that's what you do. You roll dice.
You know what is in common with all these guys, other than the fact they coach football now?
They need wallets.
They get paid a lot of money, so
Yes.
they need new wallets.
Yes, like
They
me.
need not nude.
Nude wallets.
I've got the boobs on the mind.
Okay, well, don't we all?
They need new wallets, and we love Ridge Wallet here. So I would highly recommend all these coaches with all their millions of dollars, or just anybody who's listening, even if you have no dollars, you need a Ridge Wallet because it's the ultra slim minimalist wallet. We love it here. Katie has the rose gold. I've held it in person.
Really nice.
I gave my boyfriend one, the red and black one. I can't remember what it's called. Love that. Got one for my dad for Christmas.
Hennessy?
The Hennessy. I can't get over the name. It holds up to 12 cards, plus there is room for cash. Over 30 colors and styles, including the carbon fiber and Brandon's favorite, the burnt titanium. And it has that RFID blocking technology, which is very important because people are dickheads out there.
Yep.
They try to steal your stuff. They cannot do it. If a digital pickpocketer comes near your Ridge wallet, they are going to be sad because
Be
they
assed out.
They're yes.
Assed
I see what you
out?
did. I see
I
what
like
you
saying
did.
assed out.
I
That's
see
a
what
good
you
phrase.
did there.
Yeah.
Yes. They also have the new key cases that helps you organize your keys anywhere to 2 to 6 keys. It's compact. And of course, they have a million colors and styles. They actually have 6 for just the keys, but there's a million styles on the website. So go to ridge.com/UR and save up to 40% through December 22nd. It is the holiday season. We just got past Cyber Monday and Black Friday, but at Ridge Wallet, it's the gift that keeps on giving. 40% at ridge.com/UR through December 22nd. Again, ridge.com/UR, save up to 40%.
All right. Are y'all ready for some because list truths up in this bitch?
So are you going to actually unveil the winner or just the finalists?
I don't know. I think there's a clear winner.
Well, yeah, there is, and we've talked about him.
But I have 3 quarterbacks. I don't know how I'm gonna read. For 3 running backs, 3 receivers, and then 1 defensive back. You wrote out bigger picture, because list, and playoff debate, and I was thinking, I read that as a sentence. Bigger picture, because list, playoff debate, and I was like, what the fuck are you telling me to talk about? So get that. Now you've confused me, Katie. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's all your fault.
Here's your because
Somehow.
list. Here's your because list, and I've got an example to help you with why this list is necessary. All right. I've got 1 running back who was in the Heisman race, 1 running back not even anywhere close to it. 1 running back rushed 247 times for 1,463 yards and 18 touchdowns. He averaged 5.92 yards a carry. The other running back rushed 239 times for 1,431 yards, 5.99 yards a carry, and 20 touchdowns. So he had 8 less carries. He had 32 less yards. He averaged .07 more, and he had 2 more touchdowns. The first guy is Heisman contender Blake Corum, which if he played on Saturday would probably be winning the Heisman the way they beat Ohio State. But he didn't play, so he's not going to win the Heisman. But he was in the mix all year because his team's good. The second guy, Israel Abanaconda from Pittsburgh.
Izzy from the Hizzy, or to the Hizzy.
Izzy to the Hizzy was just as good as Blake Corum this year, but is nowhere close to the Heisman because he doesn't play for Michigan. Mm-hmm. So that is why the because list exists. These are players that individually have been brilliant and deserve all the flowers, but don't get them because they don't play for Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, LSU, or one of the Heisman teams. So, with that being said, the because list, I'll start with the receivers. There are 2 receivers this season that had over 100 catches.
Okay.
Do you know who they are? Of course you don't. Nobody does.
No.
You shouldn't know who they are because they don't get talked about. You know who gets talked about? Marvin Harrison Jr. That's who gets talked about. Good receiver, fine receiver, numbers not even close to these guys. Who gets talked about at receiver? Whoever the last guy to get a big catch for LSU was, or Alabama, or something like that.
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison, thank you very much. They are Xavier Hutchinson, who played for maybe the worst offense in Power 5, Iowa State. Iowa State doesn't have a quarterback. They don't have anything around him, yet he had 107 catches this year for 1,100 yards. He only had 6 touchdowns. You know why? Quarterbacks sucked. Xavier Hutchinson was incredible, but will get nowhere near the accolades he deserves because he does not play for Michigan or Ohio State. Nathaniel Dell is a receiver that plays for the Houston Cougars. He had 103 catches this year, 1,354 yards, and 15 touchdowns. He was a beast and a half, but he doesn't play for Texas.
He sure does not.
And the last one of the because list receivers for right now, Charlie Jones, Purdue. God loves a white receiver. 97 catches, 1,199 yards, 12 touchdowns, Charlie Jones transferred from Iowa, where he didn't get 99 balls thrown towards him in practice over his career. He had 97 catches, 1199, 12 touchdowns. There's your three of your best receivers in the country, and nobody talked about them because they don't play in Heisman-type environments. Running backs. I already gave you the example. I'll quickly go. The running back winner, in my opinion, is Dwayne McBride. He plays at UAB. This motherfucking son of a bitch averaged 7.35 yards a carry. He had 1,713 yards and 19 touchdowns. He led the country in rushing yards. He led the country in qualified in average. He was a beast for UAB. But he plays at UAB, so he doesn't matter. Chase Brown, obviously, 1,600.
Did you get a package from Chase Brown?
I did.
Did you see the maple syrup in it?
I did. Do you want it? I guess I'll take to my wife.
You got a package?
Yeah.
I got a package too.
Do you want the hoodie? Because it doesn't fit.
Yeah, but you guys should take photos. That's cool.
I just got it yesterday. It just
Oh, yeah, we'll take photos with it.
I thought Chuck posted.
It's a shoebox with a Chase Brown. It's Chase Brown for Heisman, I guess.
It's a really nice PR package.
Yeah, it's a good PR package.
The
And we will
maple
take
syrup
any
is
PR
legit.
packages you have across this country.
Any PR package.
And
Does it come from a college
frankly,
athlete?
boobs.
Oh, don't beg.
Why not?
Not from college athletes.
Don't beg.
I just know
but the
that
maple
certain
syrup.
female roughnecks have never.
That is true. Certain ones.
You okay?
Gross.
You're
Move
gross.
The-
You're gross.
the
I know
maple
that
sy-
though.
The maple syrup, in the the glass,
Yeah.
like Christmas ornament looking
Yeah.
thing, amazing.
Can I tell you the truth?
Uh-oh.
I don't know why I thought this. Maybe it's where we work. And it's a stupid thought because why would a college send this? I thought it was whiskey. I didn't look at it. I thought it was whiskey.
Brandon, I thought it was whiskey.
I thought it looked like whiskey
I
to
thought
me.
It was whiskey until I was like, wait a minute, and I took it and then I felt how heavy it
Yeah,
was.
you can see the little.
Well, looking at it, it looked like whiskey.
You can't see the viscosity. You have to study it before you see the viscosity.
If it's sitting down like on that, it's like a little glass. It's like a
You,
star.
you see the seam where like the liquid hits the air. It's like
I didn't look that closely. I thought it was whiskey.
I thought it was whiskey.
I didn't.
Chase Brown, 1,643 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, was a beast. Mo Ibrahim, by the way, Minnesota, thought he might be the best running back in the country this year. He pretty much kind of was, even though you didn't hear much from him. He had injury issues early. He had 1,594 yards, 19 touchdowns. He averaged 5.24 yards a carry. He was phenomenal. Your quarterbacks, I've got Austin Reed from Western Kentucky. Last year you had Bailey Zappi on this list from Western Kentucky, and which means it's a system. But isn't being excellent and excelling in a system fine?
Yeah.
That seems fine.
Well, and
what's wrong with being great in your system?
nothing wrong with that, especially if it can get you to the next level. I mean, we saw that with Bailey Zappi. I know he's not starting for the Patriots right now, but I think he's got a future.
Austin Reed, 36 touchdowns, 4,200 yards, 36 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I want to give a shout out to a guy that didn't stay in the Heisman race but probably should have. Sam Hartman was a machine all year. Yeah, Drake May gets enough flowers. I don't have to give Drake May flowers. Sam Hartman all year was pretty much it for Wake Forest. And he had the issues. Remember, in September, we didn't know when he was going to play.
Right.
Yeah.
He sat out the first game. We didn't know if he was going to play. He ends up coming the second game and being excellent all year, 3,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 11. But I think your because list winner for 2022 is easy. Bo Nix in the Pac-12 got Heisman love. Caleb Williams probably going to win the Heisman. A lot of players with lesser numbers than this guy are in the Heisman mix. And Michael Penix Jr. never got to the Heisman podium, never got in the conversation. Why? He led the country in passing yards with 4,354 yards. The closest person in Power 5 to him in yardage is Drake May, 500 yards behind him. 500 yards more than any other Power 5 quarterback. Michael Penix Jr., 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. Michael Penix Jr. reinvented himself as a West Coast slinging around quarterback from a quarterback that Indiana that could win games but couldn't move the ball. He was the best player in the country that gets no love for what he did this year.
Completely agreed.
I don't
And
know.
Indiana fans are probably very upset about it.
It's weird because they told us so, and then he had to leave to make it so.
Beautifully put.
Well, the boobs got me on a high.
Oh,
no.
beautifully put. I thought it might have been the maple syrup.
I thought it was whiskey. There's maple syrup whiskey in the world, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Is there
And there's
whiskey make
also-
your syrup?
Oh, yeah.
There's whiskey anything.
There's also maple syrup anything.
Yeah.
Feels like it.
I had some good maple syrup this morning. On pancakes.
Real maple syrup is hard to beat.
Are you real maple syrup or like log cabin?
No, I'm just saying like if you get high quality maple syrup.
Like that comes in like the really nice glass
Yeah,
bottles.
yeah.
You can tell when you pour it, it's just so thin.
Yeah, it's just so
Oh my God.
good.
And I don't know, do you like it cold or hot? Syrup.
Why would you have it cold?
Have you ever had like a
I like it warm.
I like it warm too, but if you have a really good maple syrup,
Yeah.
it's kind of like really good pizza. You can eat it cold too. A good
On top of hot food?
yeah.
Oh.
Let's say I have the best maple syrup in the world right
Okay.
here in my left hand. In my right hand, I have the food that goes perfectly with it. What is that?
Blueberry pancakes.
Blueberry pancakes.
French
Yeah.
toast.
Bitch, you crazy.
What's yours?
Just pancakes.
Oh,
You go pancakes or waffles?
I have
They're 6 of one, half dozen of the other to me.
Yeah, I have pancakes more often, but a good like waffle with some fruit on top is a nice delicacy.
French toast
Waffle-
is better, but harder to get right.
Yeah, but waffle with the with the good ridges in there and good deep
Yes.
holes. If you get the right amount of butter and
Yes.
syrup into a hole, oh, it's the best bite
You
of
like
food you
deep
can
holes?
have. Yeah, I like deep holes, and I'm used to them. Ah, God.
I've been also just pancakes in general are delicious, but I've been on a blueberry pancake kick.
I got to get out of here.
It's hot in here.
Oh shit, it's 5:30.
It's fucking hot in here.
I think we talked about everything. Jack was doing World Cup stuff today. We'll talk about Dion next time.
All right, Kate, our transfer portal.
We'll
came
talk
back
about
from
transfer portal next time as well, and we'll break down the Pac-12 title game, the SEC title game, all the title games as we get ready for championship week.
I still can't believe you did this. This Hugh Freeze business.
Noah did it.
Well, because Noah's smart.
It
He
was
knew-
Noah's
he-
idea.
He knew that I would catch you immediately.
I'm telling you, I can come up with the idea for the crime, but if we have to execute the crime, we got to get
Well,
Noah
yeah,
involved.
you know what I learned about your criminal
What?
abilities? You would get caught if you murdered somebody immediately, because that's the first thing I did was turn it over. And
I
look for
would have
the
been
date.
caught within seconds. Noah caught me within seconds. Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
knew I was doing it, but
I mean, that's what I tried to do, and then Noah outsmarted me. But then you notice it only took me a little bit to realize somebody just went and printed it off the back.
no, you didn't know until I told you. You were kind of you were kind of
I
thinking.
asked him to his face, and you told me I wasn't allowed to ask him.
Well, no, you weren't allowed to ask.
and
him.
I said Katie or Jack.
You
had
were trying
do
to
it.
figure out everything. If I could have.
Noah had a poker face the entire
Oh
time,
no!
so I stopped looking.
That guy's
at
a
him.
criminal. We need to. He's a criminal. Are you a criminal?
It's the quiet ones.
I'll plead the fifth.
See?
1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. Whatever you say, fifth.
Huh?
There are so many amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America.
Is this like Schoolhouse Rock?
That's unnecessary roughness. God damn it!
Isn't it Dave Chappelle?